What's up, guys, and welcome to the Isn't It Crazy podcast. My name is Rudy Perez, and I am your host. This is my 25th podcast, and Daddy's learned a thing or two. So, the reason I started this podcast because I was working a 9 to 5, and I would just pop in my headphones and try to block out the rest of the world and just kind of do my job. And eventually, I listened to everything on Spotify. I've listened to every Kanye album, fucking every country music song, you name it. Any genre except for heavy metal, I've listened to it. So eventually I found out what a podcast was, and it was just people sharing ideas and having opinions and having guests, and sometimes they would have silly goose times, and sometimes they would just have a serious conversation about serious things. So I fell in love with it. One of the biggest podcasts in the world is Joe Rogan. And I watched that just because I like his opinion on a lot of things. And then I found this podcast called The Fighter and the Kid, and they just have a silly goose time. There's no serious tone to it. They're just two dudes having a lot of fun with each other. They're both comedians. And part of me wanted to do that. When this was like a year ago, I started thinking really hard about it. And it seemed pretty easy. I thought they'd get in front of a microphone, they take video of it, and then they put it out to YouTube. And it is definitely not that at all. There's a lot of editing, and you have to be thoughtful about what you're going to say. Also getting guests, things like that. So right away I learned that it's not just sitting behind a microphone and having an opinion. It's way more than that. But I didn't grace the grind. I love doing this when I'm at work. I'm thinking about, what am I going to talk about? What kind of graphic am I going to use to announce that there's a new episode? And by the time I get out of work, I still have to go to the gym, but I'm not tired at all. If anything, I'm motivated to come home and do this, and I'm hyped. I'm happy, and when I'm doing this, and there's no better feeling than when you're done with a podcast and you're ready to tell the world that you made something new. So, I always tell my girlfriend, there's no better feeling than finishing a podcast and having it ready to go. Everything's uploaded. All I got to do is write a little thing that says this is what the podcast is about, and then ship it out. It's such a great feeling. And I learned what it means to be passionate about something. It's not hard work. There is a lot of work that goes into doing these things. You got to edit the audio, you got to edit the video, but if you love doing something, it's not hard work at all. You enjoy it, and it does push me mentally and creatively, and I love that feeling. I feel like I'm growing at something, and sometimes I listen to it and I'm my worst critic. When I start editing and I listen to something I did, or I messed up a word, I'm like, you fucking idiot. But it's just my wanting to get better at what I'm doing. And when I see that I'm doing something really good, then I get self-motivated, and it's taught me to be self-reliant. I do get a lot of support from my family and my friends, and sometimes they'll be like, hey, great podcast, or hey, I listened to this. I know Naomi, she'll be a guest soon. She posted something on her Instagram story saying go listen to his podcast. What a great podcast my friend has, and I love that support, but most of the time it's kind of lonely. I get home and I do this, then I edit the thing, and then I'm usually by myself. Most of the week it's podcast, workout, and try to get something to eat. Nothing else. I don't really see my girlfriend till the weekend, and I'm lucky that I do work with my friends, so I do have some social interaction, but most of the time, if I'm not at work, I'm alone. And you have to be self-reliant. You can't hold on to people thinking they're always going to be there to support you, because people are doing their own things. And that's okay, because people have dreams. They have motivations, and you have to be a little selfish when it comes to yourself. You have to want to grow and get yourself better. And the only way you're going to get better is by focusing on yourself and having a reflection and seeing what am I good at? What am I bad at? And working on that. And sometimes you have to make sacrifices and not hang out with friends or get online and play video games like I usually do when I'm not doing this. So I learned that you have to be self-reliant. I learned that I'm passionate about something, and I learned it's not easy, but just because it isn't easy, you shouldn't do it. So if you're out there and you're thinking, oh man, I want to start a business, or even you want to start a podcast, a YouTube channel, anything is possible if you're willing to put in the work. If you're willing to have consistency in your life. This is the most consistent thing I've ever done in my life. I know it comes out every week, and every week I have this little schedule. I try to shoot these on Sundays, but I never do. You know, I always end up oversleeping, or I'm too hungover to do it. So usually Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays is when I shoot this, and I'm trying to be consistent with it, you know? So I know that I'm putting in the work, and I'm trying to see where I lack and where I'm good, and then grow consistently every single week and push myself creatively and mentally and even physically, because I have to learn how to talk into a mic, you know, to take breaths and not say so much. So it's a whole dance, and I love it. And one of the best parts about starting a podcast was that I was so afraid what people were going to think of me. You know, I thought people were going to make fun of me. I thought people were going to think my opinions were stupid. You're putting yourself out there every single time you do this. And every single time you do it, you learn that their opinions don't matter, and whatever they say don't matter. I like when people critique it, but I don't take it personally. I take it as a learning lesson. I'm not going like, he said my podcast sucks. Fuck him. I'm saying, like, he'll say my podcast sucks, and I'll be like, tell me why it sucks. That way I could work and make it better. It's definitely made me better at criticism, but a lot of people are too nice to do that. And, you know, they'll say like, good podcast, and I'll be like, thanks, or I saw your podcast, and I'll be like, oh, thank you. But at the end of the day, I don't know how to act when people are nice to me. I know how to react when people criticize me a lot better than I know how to act when they're nice. Because all I could say is thank you, and then the conversation ends there. But if you tell me like, hey, like, I didn't like your podcast because of this, if it's a valid point, I'll be like, okay, I could fix that, or I could try to fix that, and then keep on going with that conversation. Like, what did you like? What didn't you like? It's a bigger conversation than, hey, I saw your podcast. Then all I could say is thank you. I can't be like, fucking watch the rest, or give it a like or subscribe. You know, like, part of me hates doing that. Part of me hates asking people to subscribe, because I feel like I'm begging for it. You know, when people are like, you guys have to subscribe to this channel. Like, if they like it, they will. You know, I subscribe to a lot of things because I like them. Not because somebody's telling me to subscribe, and not because they're telling me to smash the button in every fucking video. It's because I like watching it. So I want people to subscribe because they like what I'm putting out there, and they're only going to like this the better the quality of the video gets. So I understand that. And, you know, I'm not looking at the numbers and going like, man, nobody likes this. Oh man, I got 10 views. I'm looking at it like, what can I do to get more views and get more motivated? So that's definitely a good part of starting a podcast. You learn not to give a fuck about what anybody thinks, and it's pretty cool. Another cool thing is that you meet people that are chasing dreams, because you're saying, I'm chasing this dream, and they feel more comfortable telling you, hey, I'm doing the same thing, whether it's in music like Cameron Ramaska, whether it's in podcasts like Ralph, whether it's my sister starting her own lash company and starting a makeup tutorial. You know, these people are coming to me and saying like, hey, I have a dream and I think it could become something. And I tell them all the same things. If you have a dream and you're willing to put in the work, it could be possible. And I'm here to support you. I'm here if you want to sit down and talk to me about it. And it's really cool seeing people chase their dreams, because you feel like you're not alone and you see their progress. You know, Cameron actually started rapping, and daily he sends me videos of his music and telling me like, this guy wants to collab, and hey, look at the beat that I'm rapping to. My flow's getting better, and I get motivated by that. Hopefully he gets motivated every time I tell him like, hey, if you keep doing this, you're going to become something big. And he actually sent me a text message going that he knows that one day we're going to make it. And the confidence to say that, he just something inside of him made him say that. And he didn't say maybe one day we'll make it. He said, he's like, one day we will make it. Like, really confident about the whole thing. And I thought it was awesome. So shout out to Cameron for that. Keep working on your music. I know he listens to this, and we'll see where I am once I get to 1,000 podcasts. And I just want to make this video because I know when I get to 1,000 podcasts, I'll bring this up and I'll be watching it. And future Rudy, you're probably sitting in a different studio with better cameras and a better system to go around, and probably a bigger following. And I just want you to know that those late nights and all the hard work you put in was worth it. And congratulations. But that's all I've learned so far. We'll see what happens. I have no intentions of stopping, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the future. But speaking about learning stuff, I want to talk about learning how to lose. This weekend, I lost. Last podcast, I made a prediction about Deontay Wilder beating Tyson Fury, and I lost. I made the wrong choice. It's nice to see that professional critics on ESPN, they all had the same thought that Fury was going to lose because he put on weight, and then we were all surprised. But see, when you lose, you say, I lost. So especially in sports, a loser comes out and says, I lost because it wasn't my night. My hat's off to the winner. And that's it. You say, I learned, I think I could learn from my mistakes and come back even better. There's a reason why athletes are taught not to be cocky when they win and to be humble when they lose, because people are going to talk about the way you lose. And you could lose and say that and be a good loser, or you could say what Deontay said and be a bad loser. Because the first one, you're a bad loser, everybody says he's going to try to come back and be better, and that's where the conversation ends. But when you say that it was your costume that weighed 40 pounds that made your legs tired and that's why you lost the fight, people are going to keep talking about it for weeks. They're already going to keep talking about how Deontay should exercise his rematch clause, but now they're talking about he made these excuses. He's firing his corner for throwing in the towel when they were just protecting him. All these negative things are going to be talked about Deontay Wilder, and it's just going to make it worse for him, because now you're considered a sore loser. You're not considered a gracious loser where you say, like I said, like you're going to learn and you can do better. Now you're considered somebody who doesn't know how to lose. And he's making silly excuses to why he lost. Come on. If you can't carry 40 pounds out to the ring, you shouldn't even be in that ring. He outboxed him. He had a game plan, and he used his weight, which everybody thought was going to be Fury's downfall, to his advantage. Fury used his weight to his advantage, and that's why he won the fight, because he smothered Deontay Wilder from the beginning of the fight. Deontay didn't know how to answer or adapt to what Fury was doing, because I guarantee you Deontay didn't think Fury was going to do that. And the only reason I picked Deontay was because I thought Fury weighed way too much. Then I learned that Deontay put on like 20 pounds of muscle, so that's on me. I didn't do my research and I lost. And next time I'll learn to do my research and make a better pick. But that's how you lose, Deontay. You don't fucking make excuses like my costume way too much, or my corner threw in the towel. That corner is going to protect you, and you can't blame the corner. If you die in the ring on your shield, they don't get paid anymore, and they lost their friend. These guys that the guy who threw in the towel is a friend of Deontay, and he started with Deontay from the beginning. So for him to try to save you because he understands that you already lost this fight, no matter what, you're not going to knock him out. It's kind of shitty for Deontay to fire him, but I called it. I said somebody's getting fired, because Deontay went to his corner afterwards and said, why did you throw that towel in? And I knew in that moment, I told my friend, I was like, he's getting fired. The cornerman who threw that towel is getting fired, because he's going to get blamed for the whole thing. And I could see Deontay's side. Now I'm going to have that what if moment for the rest of my life. What if you didn't throw in the towel and I knocked him out? It's gonna haunt Deontay for a while. And the referee actually came out and said that he was going to stop the fight anyways, regardless of the towel. But we don't know that. It's a lot of what ifs. So I could see why Deontay's mad and would fire his corner. But Deontay also has to understand that not only are these people your friends and the people that care about you, they also rely on you to eat. So if you die, that's bad business for everybody. And okay, they throw in the towel. Now you get a rematch. You say you lost the fight, and you use that excuse that we threw the towel prematurely. So I don't agree with the firing of the cornerman. I feel bad for that guy, but I'm sure he could go to another camp. With the resume that he has, and Deontay being one of the fighters that he helped train to a world championship, I'm sure a lot of camps will pick him up. But nonetheless, we're gonna have a rematch, and we're gonna have a rematch just because Deontay has that rematch clause in his contract, And I'm gonna pick him again. Hopefully he learns from his mistakes and can come back better and faster and smarter. And we'll see, third time's the charm, I guess. And maybe a new camp will help him out. Maybe somebody that comes in and maybe they're not too good of a friends and they could point out maybe this is where you fucked up. I'm sad to see that Deontay would make such a silly excuse to why he lost. Deontay doesn't seem like that type of person, but when you lose and it's your first time losing, the way you react could surprise a lot of people. So we'll see. After that, I think Fury fights Joshua, and I know Joshua's camp is like foaming at the cock to get that fight. Eddie Hearns got onto Ariel Helwani and he was saying like, we want this fight. This is our number one priority. But Deontay already said he's going to have the rematch. And unless Fury wants to pay him a shit ton of millions of dollars, they're going to fight him again. You don't lose a lot. You just fight again. And then you fight Joshua. If you think you could beat Deontay a third time, if you think you beat him the first time, then by all means, take the rematch, make a couple $1 million and then go have the super fight in London against Anthony Joshua, you being Tyson Fury. But we'll see how it all plays out. And if you guys like this fight talk, I am doing another UFC 248, Israel Adesanya versus Joe Romero next week. So I got to do my research on that, and I'm excited for that one. And in this week's recommendation, over the weekend, I was so hungover, so I didn't really want to do much. So I watched the longest movie I could find, and that was the Battle of Midway. It's actually what happened after Pearl Harbor gets bombed. And let me tell you, them Japanese boys, they were pretty cocky about these motherfuckers thought they were gonna win the fight. And the one dude, I think the smartest one out of all, and that's kind of hard to say because I feel like they're all smart, told them like, you guys fucked up. The moment they bombed Pearl Harbor, he's like, you guys fucked up. You woke in this huge giant. And what I liked about the movie was it has the feeling of grandeur. It has a feeling that the director went all in this movie. And what I mean by that is that a lot of movies are made into trilogies now, because they want to get franchised, and the studios want a movie they could sell you this year, next year, and the year after that and make $1 billion throughout the 3 movies. What happens when directors do that, they'll take the movie, the first segment of the movie, and they'll give you a little action and then leave you in a cliffhanger. So you come back for the second one and they give you a little more action there, cliffhanger, then the third movie. That's why they try to bust their nut, but by that time, you're already kind of used to the story. You feel like you're watching a TV show more than an actual movie. So when they do these huge movies where it's like one and done, you get the crazy action story. And I love these type of movies because they show you what actually happened. These are real characters. And you see some of the bravest shit you've ever seen in your life done by people that otherwise you would have probably never heard of. I never learned what happened after they bombed Pearl Harbor. I do now. I understand why the Japanese wanted Midway. Midway is just a little island close to Hawaii, and the Japanese wanted to take over Midway because it's seen as a stepping stone to get to Hawaii. They want to take control of all the Pacific Ocean, so Hawaii was a key state that they had to take, so then they could attack the west of the United States. But I feel like they underestimated what the Americans were all about. A lot of these Americans they were pissed off, and they wanted revenge for what had happened at Pearl Harbor. So the movie's packed with grandeur, like those old school movies like Titanic and fucking Avatar, and like where you get a sense that damn, they really went all out in this movie, and they spare no expense. So it's action packed. Thought the storytelling was great. They developed the characters. Every character had an arc, and you learned a lot of cool shit. I didn't know they flew bombers over Tokyo, and that was the first time Tokyo had ever been attacked. I didn't know that the Americans were undermanned after. I didn't even know they had a battle after Pearl Harbor. I thought they just went over to Germany, beat the shit out of them, and dropped 2 nukes on Japan, and that was a war. But you learn a lot of shit that happened between. You also learn why we respect our servicemen so much. You learn that these guys that I'm sure are in the army right now and were for sure in the army before, these guys that are so selfless that they're willing to put their lives on the line just to protect us. And in the moments of battle, they're not thinking my wife and kids, they're thinking I have to do this for a whole country. And it's just so badass. I think when a person can perform under pressure and be brave and do all that, that is fucking awesome. So go watch that movie. It's a bit long, but it's worth it. And if you're not into long movies, go watch Pete Davidson's new stand-up show on Netflix. I think it's the funniest fucking thing in the world. I literally listened to half an hour of it, and it's no bullshit comedy. You know, he talks about Louis C.K. He talks about Adriana Grande. He talks about his personal life, and a lot of these things you can relate to, and he just takes all that normal shit of relationships and work and life and gives it to you in a funny package. And I might go see him live. If he ever comes to Chicago, I'll go see him. But I'm running out of time as like usual. I try to keep this under 30 minutes because the editing is crazy. So shout out to everybody that supported me. Shout out to the people chasing their dreams. And if you haven't subscribed already, I know I said I hated it, but I feel like I have to say it at one point or another in one of these videos. So please subscribe, please like, and thank you for watching. And don't miss out on the UFC 248 card breakdown next week. Thank you.